The first case in Special Counsel Robert Mueller's probe into Russia's interference in the 2016 US presidential election has kicked off. Paul Manafort, President Trump's former campaign manager, is on trial on charges related to financial crime and money laundering. He allegedly made more than $60 million while consulting for former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych. Here's more on the story.
Paul Manafort is the first of President Donald Trump's former associates to go on trial for bank and tax fraud. According to prosecutors, 35 witnesses are expected to testify that Manafort evaded taxes on more than $30 million. The trial could also shed light on the political operative's work with the pro-Russian political party of former Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, who was deposed in 2014. Regarding Mr. Manafort, his last name is mentioned in the list of the so-called Black Ledger of the Party of Regions. And according to this list, more than $12 million were spent to cover expenses which were related to this person starting from November 20th, 2007. The last record in the account book connected to Mr. Manafort was made on October 5th, 2012. But the case might resonate much further than a lavish lifestyle. His role as head of Donald Trump's presidential campaign and his special relations with Russian oligarchs make Manafort a centerpiece in the FBI probe investigating Russian meddling in the 2016 U.S. presidential election. He is risking at least 30 years behind bars for bank fraud and conspiracy charges alone, even though experts have suggested U.S. President Donald Trump could weigh in with a pardon.
And joining us to talk more about Paul Manafort's trial is Oleksandr Yanevskiy. He's a correspondent with Voice of America. Hi, Oleksandr. So what are the outcomes from this first day of trial?
Alexander, hello.
Hi.
So the main thing is that today defense attorneys and the prosecutors choose 12 members of the jury that will weigh the fate of Paul Manafort, 6 men and 6 women. They're also selected 4 alternative jurors. It's 3 men and 1 woman. At this point, just 15 minutes ago, the defense and the prosecutors, they started their opening arguments, and we will see what is going to be the outcome. However, I would like to bring to your attention that Judge T.S. Ellis, he is still deciding if the documents that has to do with Paul Manafort's work in Ukraine for Yanukovych should be excluded from the evidence because he believes it's not really relative to the whole process. Again, Paul Manafort is being charged with tax fraud and bank fraud, and probably those documents that has to do something with work of Paul Manafort in Ukraine has nothing to do with those charges.
In September, Paul Manafort will face charges, another trial. He will face charges related in a federal court in D.C. that include failing to register as a foreign agent. Now, the trial is set to begin in September. Can some exhibit used in this trial be reused for the next one in September?
There is a possibility, Alexander, that some of those evidence will be used in federal court in Washington, D.C. It depends what other charges he will be charged in Washington, D.C., since the prosecutors will be stating facts and not giving an opinions. So every fact matters in that particular case, too.